Starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hi, this is William Shatner, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen to Brian Shapiro. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Come on, guys!
Oh, yeah. What's up, everybody? It is the Vegas Take on a Friday. I hope everybody's in a good mood, although this is Vegas. This is somebody's Monday, but I apologize for that. But we're glad you're listening. Sharp and Shapiro back at you. We got a lot to get to today, a lot to go over, and going to be a lot of fun. Former presidential candidate and the godfather himself, well, at least when it comes to pizza, Herman Cain will be joining us in hour number 2, so that's going to be a lot of fun. We got a lot to get to with Herman. And he was one of the frontrunners in the Republican Party, to beat Barack Obama.
Before he was the godfather of pizza, he was the
Burger King.
He was the king of burgers.
Yeah. I did a little research on that. He is the king of fast food as well. So Herman Cain will be joining us in hour number 2, and he'll answer anything. All holds barred with Herman, so he'll be coming up. That'll be a lot of fun. And also, I want to make this announcement. If you haven't already heard, we're very glad to send the message again that the Vegas Take will be moving to August 12th at 9 a.m. to noon. August 12th is our first day, I should say. I don't know if I said that the right way. I was distracted because JD was pumping his fist, and I have no idea what's going on.
I've got a wager, and my wager is going very
okay.
well.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
It's a little distracting. Anyway, we're August 12th. We're moving 9 a.m. to noon. So the show's going to be expanding an hour, and show's not going to change. We're going to continue to bring you all the local news, national news from a Vegas perspective, and the best guests, the best interviews. We do it all.
And from now on, everybody that we interview, we're going to make sure they tell us their IQ.
We'll get to that in a second. He's referring to Steve Sanchez, who came on the show yesterday. We'll get to that. I want to start with this. I don't listen to a lot of radio. It's weird. I'm a radio guy. I've been in the business 20 years. I don't listen to a lot of talk radio. I grew up listening to Howard Stern. My dad introduced me to Howard Stern. I'd listen to it on the way to school. And, that's why I got into radio, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. Howard Stern is one of the main reasons why I decided to get into radio. But I've always respected Dan LeBatard for a lot of different reasons. I think he's honest on the air. I do think he does a good show. I think he's smart. And I'm a fan of his. I think
what? I'll bet that he has a deeper checkbook and pockets than you.
Okay, we'll get to that, too. We're not talking about Steve Sanchez right now. We'll get to Steve Sanchez. If you could just hold your horses so I can get through this story first, JD. I know you're chomping at the bits. In regards to Dan LeBatard, we're talking about Dan LeBatard now, JD. Now I just lost my train of thought. Thank you very much. Okay, so in regards to Dan LeBatard, I'm a fan of his show. So he did something today on his show, the Dan LeBatard show on ESPN, that I respect a great deal. He was talking about this chant, and we all know what this chant was. Send her back, send her back. And I see this image. Looks like a 10-year-old girl that was standing behind Donald Trump when this chant went on, and she's wearing a MAGA hat, and she gets in on the chant while her ignorant parents are standing right next to her. Yeah, that's ignorant, folks. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the chant. So Dan LeBatard decided to call out his own company. That's right. That's what he did today. He's a nationally syndicated sports talk show host on ESPN. He called out his own company at ESPN. I want you to take a listen to this.
There's a racial division in this country that's being instigated by the president, and we here at ESPN haven't had the stomach for that fight because Jamel did some things on Twitter, and you saw what happened after that. And then here, all of a sudden, nobody talks politics on anything unless we can use one of these sports figures as a meat shield in the most cowardly possible way to discuss these subjects. Because this isn't about politics. It's about race.
Absolutely right. He could not be more right on this issue. And yes, the executives, I'll say it, the executives over there at ESPN are a bunch of cowards. What is wrong with calling out this chant? What is wrong with that? He is so 100% right. And I hope he continues to talk about this, but he certainly made his point. And then he goes on to talk about people in general, about how people are complicit if they don't call this out. Here is him expanding on this opinion.
If you're not calling it abhorrent, obviously racist, dangerous rhetoric, you're complicit.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. I'll be very clear on this one. I couldn't be more clear. Anybody who is okay with that chant. This has nothing to do with the politics of Omar. I've been against her from the start for the most part. When it comes to anti-Semitism, the comments that she's made, I don't think she should be in office. Never in my wildest dreams would I say, go back to your country, right? Send her back. If you are okay with that chant and you have no problem with it, you are complicit at the very least, or you're supporting racism, or both. So we had Steve Sanchez on the show yesterday. And Steve Sanchez is a right-wing talk show host. Even though he says he's not a Republican, he's certainly way on the right. I don't think he would disagree with that. He came on the show yesterday, and he's actually going to be filling this spot 6 to 8 p.m. on August 12th when we move to mornings. And we got into a spirited debate, and I brought up this issue with him. And the reason why I want to play some of these clips is I think many Republicans make excuses for what I consider to be racism. So I asked Steve about this issue, and at first he sort of said, no, I don't like the chant, but. And I want to play this clip. This was Steve Sanchez on the show last night. But that chant was disgusting. Can we start there? Can we agree with that?
Well, I didn't like the chant. I mean, who would? I mean, common sense prevails regarding send her back. I think it just takes a step out of the norm in terms of who we are as Americans. But there is a part of this that no one really wants to talk about. You know, is there, built up frustration from people that are just so angry about what's happening, the slap of the face of America, of white America. I have to say that because white America today has become the racists.
He's trying to make white people as the victims here, which is utterly disgusting. That is exactly what Steve Sanchez did on the show last night. And I went back and I listened to it a couple times, and that's exactly what he was doing. First of all,
no, he's giving a possible justification for why they did the things they did. That's not making them a victim. It's just creating a justification.
A justification for being a racist, for chanting something that is racist. You know, and he goes on to expand on that, and it's absolutely an excuse. Let's play this next clip. Here's where Steve goes on. People who are chanting that, in my opinion, are racist. Can we agree on that?
I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. I can't say they are. I'll tell you this. I think some people get so excited they act like damn fools, and they'll say things that really, if you really sit them down, they really don't mean. They just get caught up in the moment. Send her back.
Okay, first of all, that's ridiculous. Let me respond to that. If somebody is angry at someone and they scream out the N-word, is that an excuse? Well, they were angry. They're just frustrated.
But they didn't scream out the N-word.
When you say send her back.
Had a derogatory racial term been attached with that, send her whatever word back, that would be racist. But in this case, I would say that they are definitely ignorant and 100% impressionable. Well, I kind of agree with Steve. I can't really say that they're guaranteed racist or not.
So when you say send her back, if
you said send her and then you used a racially derogatory term with that statement, that would be racism, in my opinion.
So let me get this right. She's a woman of color.
I agree.
Okay. She came here as a refugee when she was 13 years old. She is an American citizen.
And she may have come here because she pretended to marry her brother.
Don't know that for sure. And we don't know that for sure, and that's completely academic to this discussion.
And she hasn't exactly done a lot of great things for the country. She's anti-Semitic.
That is policy.
She has not denounced Antifa. She has not denounced Al-Qaeda.
You're talking about why you don't like her policy, and the things she said, and I agree with you. But
that's one of the reasons why they chanted "send her back" because of what she has done and what she's said.
Well, that's ridiculous.
It's possible.
Send her out of office then. Send her out of office.
I agree. Kick her out would have been a much better.
I would
chance,
not have had a problem with that.
But I can't call it racist because there wasn't a racially derogatory term attached to it.
In my opinion, it is racially derogatory when a woman of color who was not originally born in this country but is a U.S. citizen, regardless of you don't like the things she says or what she stands for, when you say send her back, to me that is a racist comment, period. That's my opinion. We can disagree on that. I absolutely think those people that were chanting that are racist. And then you have a 10-year-old girl that's sitting there, and her dumb parents are just standing right next to her doing nothing, just like our idiot.
Exactly. That's being impressionable. Now, I just said that I don't necessarily think that's racist, and Dan LeBatard is now saying that I'm complicit in racism.
No, if you don't call it out. If you don't call it out.
I just called it out, but I didn't call it racist.
You don't. That's not what he said. He's not saying you have to call it racist, even though I think he agrees with me that it is racist because we're talking about race here. But you have to call it out. You have to say it's wrong. At the very least, you have to say that the president is setting a horrific precedence and an example. Again, I go back to this 10-year-old girl that's standing up with her parents behind Donald Trump and screaming out in this chant, "Send her back." Is that what we want our kids chanting out? It's ridiculous. And look, I got into it with Steve Sanchez yesterday. And you're right, the first 15, 20 minutes of the interview, I seriously thought he was on drugs. And
drugs I'm on is it's called success,
okay.
and it's called intelligence.
Okay. So apparently, if you shout over somebody for 20 minutes, it's success and intelligence. But let's get to the intelligence part.
You're talking to a guy that has 138 IQ, buddy.
There you go. Steve has 138 IQ, so he must get it. Can I just say this? And look, next time Steve comes on, I'll give him a chance to defend himself. What would you say about someone that brags about how much money they have? What would you say about someone that brags about how smart they are? It's kind of like the guy that drives the sports car, but's terrible in bed or can't get laid. It's that guy, And look, Steve, I know you don't drive a sports car, buddy. But when you come on a radio show and you brag about how smart you are, first of all, I've never heard anybody talk to me like that. I have a 136 IQ.
You're talking to a guy that has 138 IQ, buddy.
Exactly. Wait, did I say 136? No, 138.
Brian, you were too often. That is blasphemy. No, yeah, it's kind of like someone that's 5'4" owning a giant truck.
Exactly. Yes. Honestly, I've never gotten into a debate with somebody, and that was their defense. I have all these Twitter followers. I have a lot of money, and my IQ is 138. I mean, it was just asinine. Honestly, I was shocked. I was shocked.
But it's proven fact that as your voice raises decibels, your IQ simultaneously raises in proportion.
It was insane.
No, it's a proven fact. So I mean, at the end of parts of that conversation, his IQ was actually 195 because he was being so loud. And he was also talking really fast. And the faster you talk, the higher your IQ. Like right now, my IQ is 240. His was about 350 at points during that conversation because he was talking so fast.
Look, and you know what? A good example is Mark Levin. Obviously, he's way on the right. We're glad that he's on KDWN. He was so respectful, and we were respectful to him. And at the end, we disagreed on almost everything. But, Mark's a smart guy. He does a great show. And at the end of the interview, he said he enjoyed it. He was very respectful to us. We can disagree on policy. Now, look, when somebody calls into this show and says something racist or says something completely ignorant, I'm going to call them out on it. But in the 20 years of doing radio, I've always respected the guests that come in here, whether they did Danny Tarkanian's one, Amy Tarkanian. I've had Ron Futrell. I have plenty of Republicans in here that I love getting into a good heated debate, but none of them have ever brought up how rich they are or what their IQ is. I thought that just made them look really bad.
I will be asking Ron Futrell his IQ, his net worth, and his shoe size.
Please don't.
Next Tuesday.
Please don't.
Not a doubt in my mind.
We'll take some phone calls on this, and Donald Trump lying again. We'll get to this in a second. Let me give out the phone number if you want to be a part of the conversation. 257-5396 is the number to call. Again, if you want to be a part of the show, give us a buzz at 702-257-5396. I want to get to this because this is the same issue. During an exchange with reporters today, President Donald Trump, once again, making false accusations about Ocasio-Cortez and Omar. And let me say it again, I do not support Omar. I don't accept her apology when it comes to the anti-Semitic remarks she made. And the only way I will accept that apology, let her go to Israel. Let her speak to the leaders there. Speak to some of the victims in some of these synagogue shootings. Talk to some of the rabbis out there. Until she really understands the struggles that many Jewish people have gone through with anti-Semitism, I don't want to hear her apologies. I would like her out of office. I don't want her to leave the country because that is a racist thing to say. However, with that being said, this is what Donald Trump said today. He said the First Lady thinks that it's horrible what they've said about Israel and horrible what they've said about our country, these congresswomen. They can't call our country and our people garbage. They can't be anti-Semitic. They can't talk about evil Jews, which is what they say, evil Jews. Well, he's lying. Ocasio-Cortez never called Americans garbage. She said in March that the country has gone so far in the wrong direction that people shouldn't be satisfied with moderate policies that are merely 10% better from garbage. That's what she said. So the president is lying. Then, none of those congresswomen have ever called Jews evil Jews. Omar tweeted in 2012 that Israel had committed evil doings. Now, I disagree with her, but she's not calling Jews evil. The president is lying. Regardless of what you might think, the president's words do matter. To make him sound better in this situation and deflect from that horrible chant and telling him that send them back to their countries, he's deflecting and he's lying. This is what he does. Again, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call is 257-5396. Let's start off with Brian. Brian, what's going on?
Ron Futrell already gave out his shoe size the other night. Size 12.
He's a big guy.
One size bigger than OJ. You don't agree with these ladies.
No,
Brian.
I didn't say that. I don't agree with Omar.
You don't agree with their rhetoric and stuff, but you become their apologist.
No, I haven't. Absolutely not.
All week long, you've been
Absolutely not.
You're the apologist for both of them.
I could not disagree with you more.
You can slap Trump over the head with this. I've got a new nickname for you. It's Little Johnny Cochran, because you play the race card from the bottom of the deck.
I play the race card.
Things racist that have nothing to do with race.
So let me ask you a question.
Period.
Send her back has nothing to do with race?
Absolutely not.
Okay, well that's utterly ridiculous. That's ridiculous, Brian. You think if she was white, he would have said the same thing? That's utterly ridiculous.
Yes, I do.
That's utterly ridiculous.
Did
You're being ridiculous.
Her color or her race or her ethnicity?
4 women of color.
Those tweets. No, he did not.
4 women of color. And when you say go back to your country, that's enough. That is enough. They're not white. They're not white. Find me a white person that he said go back to your country.
You've heard of Chicken Little, haven't you?
Oh, jeez. You're not making any sense.
This guy is falling. Everything is racist. You're a racist. Laura Ingram's a racist.
So you don't think the chant, no racial connotations, you disagree with Dan LeBatard?
Absolutely.
None at all.
We're talking about I've never heard of that guy.
Okay, so none of those people in the crowd either. None of those people in the crowd, nothing to do with race.
13 seconds out of 1 hour and 45-minute rally. Okay?
So what
if the media and one of you guys been talking about all freaking week?
You are just putting it under the rug like it's not a big deal, and that is a disgrace, Brian.
It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Right. So saying go back to your country, that's not a big deal. Okay. All right, Brian. I appreciate the call. Completely and utterly ridiculous, but I appreciate the call. To say that there is no JD, help me out here.
What?
No racial connotations at all to that chant? None?
Again, had a derogatory term been attached to it, the connotations are implied because she is a woman of color. But you can't just say that it's racist, because if there was a derogatory term attached, it would be racist. But in this case, I think you could make the justification that it's because of what she's done while she's been in office and how she got here.
And you think if she was a white woman born in this country, Donald Trump would have said, go back to your country. Is that what you're claiming? That's my argument. If she was a white woman, whiter than white, born in the United States of America, do you believe that Donald Trump would be saying the same thing? It's a simple question.
Under the same circumstances?
Under the same circumstances. You think if she was white, he would say the same thing?
So say she was from, Germany?
I'm saying an American white.
But the circumstances. Say she had come here at 13 and she had married her brother to. No. She had lied and married her brother.
Forget about Germany.
Okay, say Russia.
No,
Kazakhstan.
I'm saying the United States of
Anywhere
America.
in Europe.
If it's not about race, it's a simple question. If I'm telling you right now, if this was a white woman, he would not be saying that. That's why this does have to do with race. It's so simple to. I don't understand why people disagree with that. I just don't get it. 257-5396. Let's go to Mike. Mike, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on? So I have a question. I might be wrong. In the original tweet Trump sent, did he ever specifically name those 4 congresswomen, or did they just assume it was about them?
No, I mean, he's talked continuously about these 4 congresswomen, and even he would admit.
He never said their names. They all 4 assumed.
So who do you think he's talking about? So who do you think he's talking about then? If it's not them,
it doesn't matter.
No, it does matter.
Agree that they're the ones that were talking about the.
Of course, it's them. There's even Republicans agree that he was talking about them, Mike. With all due respect,
he never said that.
Okay, fine. He never said that.
All right, and the other question: say this was back when Obama. Say he did the same exact thing and said it to them. Send her home.
Sure.
Would he be racist?
If Obama said the exact same thing, absolutely 100%. But guess what? Obama would never do that because he's got class. That's why.
So he's racist even though he's black.
Obama would never do that because he has class. That's why.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. I just proved you wrong, Mike. Have a good day. Have a good day, Mike. Well, what aboutism again? Just like Steve Sanchez. You want to bring up Barack Obama. Last I checked, Barack Obama never said go back to your country.
In all fairness, what aboutism if the woman was white? Which is basically your entire predication for the racism in the first place.
We're talking about stuff that has happened in the past.
But what aboutism? What if this woman was white instead of colored and from Somalia.
He would never say that to someone that was white, though.
What about his
He wouldn't. He wouldn't. We're talking about presidents from the past. It's what Republicans want to do. They want to bring up, well, what about Obama? What about Bill Clinton? No. What about Donald Trump? That's who we're talking about now. Let's go to George. George, what's going on?
Hey, how are you doing?
Good, George.
What's
on your
up,
mind?
George?
So to answer the question about what you would say if this was a white person, I think it would be in the same sentiment as if you are unhappy with the country, you can leave. I don't think it's a racial thing at all.
So you don't think that the fact that these 4 women are women of color, that's just a coincidence? Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much. And I think that he never even stated how many of the women the tweet was directed towards.
Let me ask you something else. How about the African Americans that are NFL players that he called sons of bitches? Is that just a coincidence that they just happen to be African American? Just a coincidence?
Now you're switching the subject.
No, I'm not switching. I'm talking about the same subject. He likes to go after people of color. It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple.
It's a different subject that you're bringing up.
No, I'm not. It's African Americans. For 5 years,
the subject at hand.
For 5 years, he went after Barack Obama before he was president, saying the president wasn't born in this country. Now he's going after these 4 women of color. He's gone after NFL players, calling them sons of bitches for kneeling. And you're telling me I'm changing the subject? We are talking about a history of Donald Trump and his father. Okay, his father should be mixed into this as well.
What we're really talking about is the statement of leaving the country.
Yeah, and I think that if you're born here, even if you're not born here, the statement of go back to your country is a racist statement.
Well, I mean, I think if anybody was born here, I think equally, like if they're not happy here, they should get out of the country.
But that is not what he said. And I appreciate the call, George. I've got to get to some other callers. That is not what he said. 257-5396. Joe, Gary, you're next. Go ahead, Gary.
Hey, Brian. During the Vietnam era, what do you call it? White men would call other white men out and tell them if you love it or leave it. There's no racism involved unless you want to make it racism.
That's complete. So you're telling me, and that first of all, that's a completely ridiculous analogy because that's a completely different circumstance. Number one. Number two, okay, you're telling me that chant in North Carolina, "Send her back," had nothing to do with race. Nothing. Is that what you're claiming?
That's what I'm claiming. That's what I know. I don't care how high your IQ is. Right now, you're being a dumbbell.
Okay, well, I never talked about my IQ. That was Steve Sanchez we were talking about. I've never talked about my IQ. I've never talked about how smart I might be.
That? I don't understand.
How do you equate? You're asking me? Okay, you're asking me, Gary. Gary, you're asking me, Gary. How do you equate a woman that was a refugee that came here when she was a teenager, that's a U.S. citizen, and people chanting, "Go back"? You're telling me how do I equate that to any form of race? I'm not even going to answer that question because it's ridiculous. 257-5396. Let's go to Joe. Joe, what's going on?
Yeah, you kind of cover what I'm already going to ask you, so I guess I'll get... Anyway, what if a guy is white and he's from Sweden, and the white guy tells him to go back to the country he came from? Is that racist?
Donald Trump didn't do that. Has he attacked anybody that's white?
I understand, but you're saying that
it's not what happened.
Go back to your
in this circumstance. In this circumstance, 150%. Now, if Donald Trump,
if it was a white guy and a white guy said it to a white guy, he wouldn't be racist.
Wouldn't make any sense. If a white person was born in this country, go back to your country makes absolutely no sense.
No, what he's saying is, what if a white guy told a white guy who came here from Sweden or Russia to go back to his country? Would that be racist?
But I shouldn't even have to answer that question because, Joe, with all due respect, that's not what Donald Trump did.
Or would that be nationalist?
It's not what Donald Trump did.
Well, which one would it be?
I shouldn't even have to answer it. Donald Trump has not done that. He's gone after 4 women of color. 257-5396. Brad, you're next. What's going on?
Oh, hey, love your show.
Thank
you for taking my call.
Sure.
Per usual. Just 2 quick points. Yeah, there's 100 white people that he's attacked. I mean, I'll email them to you if you want to give me an email. But how about Rosie O'Donnell?
Did he tell Rosie O'Donnell to go back to her country?
How about Elizabeth Warren?
That's fine.
How about?
Yeah, I agree.
But anyway,
I agree.
As far as send her back, your partner there is 100% correct. Omar's in big trouble. First of all, that's not even her name. Secondly, she married her brother, just like he said.
Okay, we can do hours of this. Brad,
she's got problems with tax fraud.
Brad, have I ever said
fraud,
Brad,
passport fraud?
Brad, Have I ever said I support Omar? Have I ever said that I support her?
Did I just pass out, or what just happened there?
Send her back has a different connotation.
He didn't just say that about her, by the way. So if you just want,
send her back has a different connotation when.
It absolutely does. When she's a woman of color and she's a refugee. When she's a woman of color and she is a refugee, you're damn right it is different. And you tell me, did he ever tell Rosie O'Donnell to go back to her country? Huh? Did he tell anybody like that to go back to their country? Did he tell anybody white? No, he didn't. I got about 40 seconds.
I actually believe he told Miley Cyrus to leave the country.
Okay.
And a couple of celebrities just like her.
Well, I don't recall that. I got 30 seconds for Brady. Brady, go.
Hey, what's up, Brady?
Yeah, right on. I want to bring up like AOC and the Hateful Four is what I call this group now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they call this country garbage.
No, they didn't. Not true. You're using Donald Trump's words. If you listen to the beginning of the segment, they never called it garbage. You're 100% wrong. Why don't you listen? Bro. Why don't you listen? She said in March that the country's gone so far in the wrong direction that people shouldn't be satisfied with moderate policies that are merely 10% better from garbage. She's not calling Americans garbage, and you're listening to the idiot in chief, and you're getting suckered in, and you believe him. Ocasio-Cortez never said that. You're wrong. Goodbye. No, you're wrong. Goodbye. Goodbye. You're wrong. Have a nice day. We're going to take a quick break. We'll get to all your calls. We've got Ken, Eric, Scott, Theo, Brian. I promise I will get to all your calls when we come back. That is just a complete and utter lie what the president said today. And you guys are suckers, and you believe it. I have the quote right here. That is 100% wrong. We're going to take a quick break. We will take all your calls on the other side of it. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.